Okay, so because second period we went from the front to the back, we didn't only got to number 14. And in fifth period, we started at the end and worked our ourselves backwards, only got back to about the same space. And I made a mistake on a couple of the problems. So this video will help you with that. I may talk pretty fast, but you can stop it and go backwards and forwards or whatever you need to see. So for problem number 1, it says translate each sentence into an equation. So the question says 12 birds are 3 more than twice the number of birds Rhonda saw yesterday. So 12 birds are is a form of the word is, so that's equals. 3 more than, which is plus. We get that from that clue worksheet. If you need to see it, it's on October the 4th in plan book. Twice the number means to multiply by 2 of birds. So 12 equals 3 plus 2 times the number of birds, and they're letting B equal the number of birds. So instead of writing it 3 plus 2B, they wrote 2B plus 3, and that's because addition is commutative, so the correct answer is C. 12 equals 2B plus 3. Sorry, went blank there for a minute. Okay, then for number 2, it says the difference between 2/3 of a number and 4 is negative 42. Difference means that we're going to subtract. 2/3 of means times a number and 4. So whatever is listed first is going to go first, and whatever is listed second will go second with the difference or the subtract sign in the middle. Is means equals. So 2/3 times n, so 2/3 n, minus 4, difference is subtract, equals negative 92, negative 92. So that is choice F. Number 3, negative 6 times the sum of a number and 4 is 12. Okay, if you notice, you've got two mathematical operations side by side, times the sum of. So that means I'm going to have a parentheses. So times, of course, multiplication, sum meaning add, the sum of these two numbers, so this number is first, that number is second, so a number n plus 4, so there's the sum of some number and 4, and there's negative 6 times this sum. So negative 6 parentheses n plus 4 equals 2, and that's answer choice B. Okay, when we get to number 4, it says to solve each equation. So I started showing you that on a multiple choice standardized test, you can either solve it and get the answer, or you can take and plug in all the different choices. I do need to make a couple of suggestions as we go on into some of the more complicated ones. So on the first one, it was negative 2.17 is equal to 0.35 r. So this means multiplication, so that I divide both sides by the coefficient of r, which is 0.35. This turns into a positive 1, so we get r equals negative 6.2. That is answer choice I. If you do it with the plug-in method, then that means you replace r with 6.2 for f, and you'd get 2.17, and that's incorrect. This G says all real numbers, so we're going to skip that one right now. H plugged in negative 7.6, got the wrong answer. I plugged in negative 6.2, so we got the right answer, so therefore G couldn't be the answer because we already had 2 that didn't work. Because if it was all real numbers, then all 3 of those would work. Number 5, 2 and 2/5 W is equal to 21 and 3/5. 2 and 2/5 W means multiplication. Opposite of multiplication is division, so we're going to divide both sides by that 2 and 2/5. Now, you could change to improper fractions and then multiply by the reciprocal to get the answer, but since we have your handy-dandy little calculators, we can enter this exactly the way it is right here, 21 ABC 3, ABC 5, that gives me the 21 and 3/5. Divide for the fraction bar, 2 and 2/5, so 2 ABC, 2 ABC 5. This represents 2 and 2/5, and then hit equals, and you get 9 on the display, which is answer choice D. If you do the plug-in method, you plug in 9 for W and put in your calculator, then put 5. Then we'd skip C. If D doesn't work, then we'd come back and choose C, which C says the null set, meaning none of the answers work. But D works, so D is the answer. Okay, on problem number 6, it says negative 25 is equal to 1/3 n minus 10. All right, so we need to get the n by itself, so we're going to add the opposite. So the opposite of subtraction is addition, so or we add a positive. So we add 10 to both sides, so negative 25 plus 10 is negative 15, and we bring down the 1/3 n. This means multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division, so we divide both sides by 1/3. You can put this in your calculator, 15 negative divided by 1 ABC3 equals, and you get negative 45, which is answer choice I. And here are the keys that you would use on your calculator. If you use the plug-in method, F says null set. So if none of these work, then we would choose F. But as you can see, when we plug in, we first plugged in 45, then we plugged in negative 15, then we plugged in negative 45. Negative 45 works, so therefore the answer is I. On number 7, we have 4 minus 5y is equal to 16, negative 16. So I want to get this y by itself, so I'm going to get this term by, since 4 is a positive, the opposite of a plus or a positive is a negative, so we subtract 4 from both sides. So we're left with, the minus sign goes with the 5, so negative 5y is equal to negative 16 minus 4 is negative 20. Then I want to get rid of the coefficient of y. This is multiplication, so I divide. So I divide by not only the 5 but the negative, so I divide both sides by negative 5. This turns into positive 1, so I get y, and negative 20 divided by negative 5 is positive 4. So we get answer choice B. If you plugged it in, start off with A, plug it in negative 5, that didn't work. Plug it in positive 4, it worked, so the answer is B. And they did have an all real numbers, so if B had worked, you would have checked C. If C had worked, then you would have checked D, all real numbers. But if C had not worked, then you would have had to, one of them has to work. Either one of them works, or the all three works and it's all real numbers, or if it's a null set, all 3 don't work, which means it's the null set. Otherwise, it's going to be one of the answers and only one of the answers. So you can eliminate the choices of all reals and all or null set. Okay, I know that probably was confusing. Just we're going to get to one I'm going to show you. Number 18, negative 17 is equal to negative 7c plus 4. So we want to get the c part by itself. So we're going to do the opposite of adding 4 by subtracting 4. So it's negative 17 minus 4 is negative 21. Again, negative 7c means multiplication, so I divide. I divide by the coefficient with the sign, so I divide by negative 7. Negative 21 divided by negative 7 is positive 3, and that's answer choice H. If you plug it in, you're going to find F and G didn't work, H does, so that eliminates the need for all real numbers because these two didn't work. On problem number 9, we have x plus 5 over 4 is equal to negative 4. What we need to do, though, on one of these, when it's like a fraction like this, is we need to get rid of the denominator. And to get rid of the denominator, we multiply both sides by that number. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. On this side, I'm going to use 4 over 1, and this side, I'm just going to use 4. So the 4's turn into a positive 1, leaving me just x plus 5, because 1 times x is x, and 1 times 5 is 5. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. Then I want x by itself, so the opposite of adding 5 is to subtract 5, so that turns into a 0, leaving me x, and negative 16 minus 5 is negative 21. So the answer is C. Skip A that says the null set, B doesn't work, C does work. If C didn't work and D didn't work, then you would have go back and check A. Okay? For problem number 10, it says, Elise wants to buy a new softball glove that costs $46.50. She has $15 and she plans to save $5.25 per week or each week. So that's where I get the 525 times W from. I'm letting W equal the number of weeks because in the next sentence it says, how many weeks will it take for her to save the money? So I want to get the part with the W by itself. So since this is a positive 15, the opposite of a positive or a plus is a minus or a subtract. So I subtract 15 from both sides, so it cancels out over here. So I get 5.25W is equal to $31.50. This means multiplication, so I multiply by the coefficient of 5.25. This turns into a positive 1, and 31.50 divided by 525 is 6, which is answer choice I. Or you could say 525 times 9 add 15, 525 times 8 add 15, 525 times 7, so forth until you got to the last one that works. So it's 6 weeks. Okay, for number 11, this is one of those choose strategies. To catch an 8:30 a.m. bus, Kendra needs 45 minutes to shower and dress. She needs 20 minutes for breakfast and 10 minutes to walk to the bus stop. To catch the bus, what is the latest time she should wake up? So that's 75 minutes total time that she needs to get up and get out the door. So we know that 60 minutes is an hour, so we take that away. That leaves us 15 minutes left over. So it takes her an hour and 15 minutes to get ready in order to get out to the bus stop. Since the bus comes at 8:30, we subtract an hour and 15 minutes, and you will get 7 hours and 15 minutes, or 7:15 a.m., which is choice C. Okay, there's more than one way to do it, but that's the way I chose to do it. Okay, continuing our solve and plug. Number 12 says negative 5x equals negative 40 plus 3x. So we want all of the things with the letter x on one side and all the things without a letter x on the other. So I'm going to choose to move the the positive 3 over, but you could have chose to move the 5. I wouldn't necessarily move the 5 because it's already over there by itself. The opposite of adding 3x is subtracting 3x, so negative 5x and negative 3x gives me negative 8x. Bring down the negative 40. This means multiplication, so the opposite is division. I divide by not only the number but the sign, so I divide both sides by negative 8, making this a positive 1, which means I got x left over, and negative 40 divided by negative 8 is positive 5, and that's answer choice G. Or you could plug in. Plugged in 20, and that didn't work. Plugged in 5, and that does work. And even though it says all real numbers, but since F didn't work, all real numbers is not going to be your answer. All right, number 13. 3/4 times x minus 16 is equal to negative 2 times x minus 3 plus 4. Distributive property. 3/4 times x is 3/4 x. 3/4 times negative 16 is negative 12. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. And negative 2 times 4 is, don't multiply that by, I just bring down plus 4. Over here, I'm just going to keep that the way it is. Now, if you put minus 12 and plus negative 12, same thing. Over here, 6 and 4 both do not have a letter x, so I combine those together to get 10. Now I start moving things around, so I'm going to move my negative 2 over with my positive 3/4. Opposite of a negative 2 or a minus 2 is to add 2x. So 3/4 plus 2x, 3/4 x plus 2x is 2 3/4 x. Bring down the plus negative 12, or you may want to write minus 12. These cancel out, making a 0, leaving me 10. Negative, so this is a negative, so the opposite of that is a positive, so I add 12. Or you can think of it as a subtract sign. Opposite subtraction is addition. So that cancels out, leaving me 2 3/4 x is equal to 10 plus 12 is 22. Then I want to get rid of this because this means multiplication. I divide, so I divide both sides by 2 3/4. Again, you can use 2ABC, 3ABC, 4. That gives you your mixed number. So this turns into a positive 1. 22 divided by 2ABC, 3ABC, 4 equals 8. So answer is B. A says the null set. B works, so it can't be the null set, so B is the answer when you plug it in. You just have to be careful with those fractions. Okay, number 14, negative 7b minus 3 is equal to negative 3b plus 5. I want all my letter b's together, so I chose to move 3 over. So the opposite of a negative or a minus 3b is to add 3b. So negative 7b plus positive 3b is negative 4b. Bring down the negative 3, bring down the equals, bring down the 5. Now that I've got all the b's together, I get all the non-b's together. So the opposite of subtracting 3 is to add 3. This turns into 0. I get negative 4b equals 8. This means multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. I divide both by the number and the sign, so I divide both sides by negative 4. The negative 4's cancel out, making a 1, so we get b equals negative 2, which is answer F. When we plug it in, F works, so we check that one. The only other thing that they have is null set, but that would mean that all 3 answers didn't work, and since the first one worked, then null set can't be the answer. All right, number 15, and this is the one, 5th period, that I made a mistake on. Second period did not make it to number 15, but when we worked this one in class during 5th period, I did make a mistake, and I'm going to show you why, okay? If you solve it, you say negative 2 times y, you get negative 2y. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. And then on this side, I can combine the 20 and the negative 12 together because they're both not a y. So 20 minus 12 is 8. So I get negative 2y plus 8 is equal to 8 minus 2y. I want all my y's together, so since this is subtract 2, I'm going to add 2 to both sides. So negative 2y plus 2y is 0, but so is this one over here. So those cancel out, leaving me 8 equals 8. But when I get a true statement, I get all real numbers because this is a true statement. So that's the reason why I knew I had done something wrong fifth period, because as soon as we did A and we got 0 equals 0, I was like, oh, that works. But B says all real numbers. Well, if you go in and check, C also works and D also works. So since A, C, and D all work, we have to go with B, meaning that all real numbers will work. So if you have something that says all real numbers, you're going to have to make sure if one of them works, that you keep checking all the other ones till either you get something that doesn't work, or if all three works, then your answer is all real numbers. Just like for one that has the null set, if you get one that works, then the null set can't be the answer. If all three answers don't work, then it has to be the null set. And I know that's confusing. Those might be easier for you just to solve. Number 16 is just a long problem. Now, 1 through 15, you do not have to show your work on because they're multiple choice. But 16, 17, and 18, you do have to show your work because they're not multiple choice. Distributive property, 2 times v is 2v, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8, bring down to minus 12. Negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2, negative 2 times 4v is negative 8v. I can combine the negative 8 and the minus 10, I get negative 18. Now, again, you can either put plus negative 18 or you can put minus 18. They're the same thing. I'm going to move all my letter V's to one side, so I chose to move the negative 8 over with the positive 2. So opposite of a negative or a subtract sign is a positive or a plus. So I add 8v to both sides, so 2v plus 8v is 10v. Bring down the plus negative 18 or minus 18. Bring down the 2. Now I want to move my non-v's over with my non-v's, so the opposite of a negative is a positive, or the opposite of subtraction is addition. Add 18 to both sides, I get 10v equals 20. Divide by 10 because this means multiplication. Divide by the coefficient. So I get v on this side and 2 on the other side. So the answer is v equals 2. Now you can take this and plug it back in and make sure it works to check your solution, and that's fine. I'm not asking you to. Okay, I made a mistake on number 17. Luckily, one of the students in 5th period came up and told me about it, so I went back and double checked it, and sure enough, I subtracted wrong or added wrong somewhere along the line because we got the wrong answer. It says Mabel scored 19 more points on her pre-algebra test than Nancy, and that Phoebe scored 10 points less on her pre-algebra than Nancy. And it says Phoebe scored 23 points. How many points did Mabel score? Or, yeah, Mabel or Maybell? Maybe. Mabel. It's probably Mabel. I'm sorry. Okay, so since Phoebe scored 23 points and her score was 10 points less than Nancy's, to get rid of this minus 10, we're going to add 10, so 23 plus 10 is 33. That's where I messed up at 5th period. So Nancy had 33 points. So then if we go back and plug it in, so if Mabel's is 19 more than Nancy's, it's 19 plus 33, which is 52 points. And I think we said 32 points because I messed up on this part right here. And I apologize, 5th period, but I've corrected it, so make sure you correct your notes. All right, number 18 is just a really long problem. Earl and Dylan both have a flower garden, and the perimeter of their gardens are the same, and they want to know what is the length and width of Earl's garden. Now, when we talk about perimeter, we're talking about the distance around the outside of their gardens, or any outside of any figure. Well, we know in a rectangle that the sides across from each other are the same, so if this is x plus 6, that's x plus 6. If this is x plus 2, that's x plus 2, and so forth. So we add all the sides of Earl's up, which I'm going to do down here. We add all the sides of Dylan's up, and they have to equal to each other because it says that their perimeters are the same. So I'm going to combine like terms first. So I have 1x plus 1x plus 1x plus 1x, which is 4x. I have 6 plus 2, which is 8, plus 6 is 14, plus 2 is 16. Over here, I'm going to collect all my x's. or combine them, 2x plus 1x is 3x, plus 2x is 5x, plus 1x is 6x. And then combine my non-x's, negative 2 plus 4 is 2, 2 minus 2 is 0, and 0 plus 4 is 4. Now I have one like what we were working with on Monday, so I want all the x's together. I'm going to move my smaller one over with my bigger one. So since 4 is a plus or a positive, the opposite of a plus or a positive is negative or subtract. So I subtract 4x from both sides, so they cancel out over here, leaving me 16. 6x minus 4x is 2x. Bring down the plus 4. Now I move my non-x's over with the other non-x's. Opposite of adding and subtracting, so I subtract just 4 from both sides, so I get 12 equals 2x. This is multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide by the coefficient of 2. Sign is positive, so I divide both sides by positive 2. Cancels out, makes a 1 there. That cancel out turns into a 1, so we get x, and then 12 divided by 2 is 6. Now that's what x is equal to. The question says, what is the length and width of Earl's garden? So we have to plug it in. So his length is x plus 6, so 6 plus 6 is 12, and in this case feet, because that's the units they gave us in the problem. The width was x plus 2, so 6 plus 2 is 8 feet. So his length was 12 feet, and his width is 8 feet. Okay, hope this helps you. I will see you tomorrow. Study, study, study. Practice, practice, practice. I'm praying that you all do well tomorrow.